Once again, this first project is going to be replicating something from antiquity. We're going to try to be as faithful and reproduce something that's. I will give you some samples here off the internet, and I'll actually go down to the Art Institute and take sort of a round shot of several heads, so you can kind of take those as reference. But if you are in an area, say around Washington, D.C. or New York or Chicago, and if you can actually go to these locations and find like this beautiful portrait sculpture of a Roman head, this is a great example. It's perfect. It has all the naturalistic kinds of senses of age that the Romans were really, really involved in. They thought that the older you get, the more wise you were, and all the wrinkles and details on this face are replicated. I finally was able to actually see this myself. I went over to the Met in New York City a few months ago, and actually was able to get the side view of the same piece of sculpture, very famous work of art. So that's a great chance for me to do that, and really had a great time in the museum looking around at all kinds of other beautiful works from the Roman, Greek, and other periods, the Etruscan and Egyptian artwork, Mesopotamian artwork. You have some beautiful examples. You can sort of see the back of the head. So I'm going to really try to capture this piece of work. These are from my camera, little camera phone. Took them with my iPhone 6. A little dark in there, and obviously no flash photography was allowed. But if this front view and the detail across the left-hand side, I can just use this reference here from the internet. So I'm going to go ahead and just right-click and just copy these pieces here. So from the internet, of course, just go in there and right-click and just save the image as. And I'm going to make myself a folder here for the project. And I'm going to go to my D drive. Dropbox. Flashpoint. And in my folder called Animation Examples, I'll just make a little source image folder here. And inside of there, just make a new folder. Sculpture reference. Cool. And I'll save this instead of being H55, whatever. Called Roman head front. JPEG. Cool. And swing around over to this. These are shots off of my phone, so I'll go ahead and just download those. Same location. It's not one I exactly need right there, so I'll go over to this. Let's go to 3/4 view. Try to shoot from a good distance away and get as far away as you can so you don't have any extra parallax or distortion. And I'm going to download that one. I'll rename these when I get to the folder here. That one's a little bit dark. That one's definitely a keeper. And of course, the straight-on side view here. Give me a second. Front view not as useful. That's a good one. In ZBrush, we can put these into different planes: top, bottom, left, right. But in Sculptris, it's going to be a little more difficult. Go ahead and click on this arrow here, so show in folder, and there are the images I need. Let's go ahead and copy those out. Let's put them in our project folder we just made, or just had before. Obviously, keep your stuff organized. Can't say that enough. Let's say that one more time. I don't think that one quite saved properly. Let me just rename these guys here that I had. turn on, under view, we'll turn on the little preview plane, reference plane. Let's call this one the plane a little bit larger so I can see what's going on. This is left side. And 3/4 view. A little bit dark, so I may not use it. And now I can go open Photoshop. And I'm just going to make a new image. And I can put these images in the back and behind inside of Sculptris, but I need to kind of cut it down and make it a little bit more trim. So I'm going to use the HDTV horizontal layout here. And don't really need to look at the views, the guides. And also, when you make a new file like this, make sure it's set to square pixels. Sometimes this is not set to square pixels, so make sure when you do make a new file, it's HDTV, you need to make sure the pixels are set to square. So 1920 by 1080, that's actually true square pixels, and square pixels, there it is. So it is, and we're good. Alright, so that's that. Let's go ahead and open up those images in. And I'm going to just put in 2 images for right now. I can swap out those images for the back and the side when I want to go to those different details. Again, ZBrush makes this a little bit easier, but I'm going to start with Sculptris because it's a little bit more approachable software and it's free. And don't get ZBrush until you absolutely have to, because you only have about either 30 or 45 days, and that will just about cover the second half of this project, this class. So I'll go ahead and grab the images I want, which is under my animation examples, source images, sculpture reference. I'll go grab all of them. Put them all up. So I think I only want the front view, which is here. So Control A, Control C, and then back in here, Control V. I'll scale that up a little bit. I think I'm going to use 2 sides. I'll take the background image here and make it kind of a gray, sort of neutral gray, and Control Backspace to fill, or all backspace, I'm sorry. And I'm going to take this layer here and just bring the opacity down. I only want it to kind of be softly referred to. I don't really need to be standing out too much in the view. I'm actually going to crop this a little bit. I only want a view that's sort of like 2 views, 2 sides, about that big. That'll be good enough. It's fine. Now grab the other image. I need the side view. Just lucky enough to actually grab here. I'm just going to grab a little portion of this image right there, copy it, and then paste it down here. Control T. You can see how the resolution of this thing is great. Even little cameras like that are pretty awesome. Now I'm going to make this a little cleaner by going around and kind of cleaning up. I'm just going to use this little mask tool here. Got my little Wacom tablet. I'm just going to brush out around with black his head. And I wish my right hand key would change the size of the brush, but I'll go here to brush view, switch the interface to painting. There we go. Up the size a little bit more. out, like that. Just to kind of make it a little bit less cluttered and easier to see the form in terms of its silhouette. We're looking for the silhouette of the form. So that's our main goal. So let me just pause this while I finish painting this one out. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to just pull the opacity down on this layer here. So both kind of match. And it's cool. And I'll just go ahead and get rid of this edge here on this guy. Delete that. So now we have a side view and a front view. Now it's probably best to actually make the side view the same scale so that things do line up, so the eyes are aligned. Here, and the nose, the chin. That. Losing a little bit of my base, but that's kind of use the crop tool and just kind of uncrop the base there. Cool. Okay. I think we got it. Now we can go ahead and save this file out. I'm going to save this as the sculpture reference portrait reference PSD file, and I'll save it out also as a JPEG version. Now we'll call this one front and side because this version is going to be front and side. Later on, actually want to make it a JPEG version of that. There we go, JPEG, front side, no layers. And that'll come right into Sculptris, where we have this. Previous version of the Sculptris model, I had put in a little dog in there for one of my students. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a background under Options. So just kind of, we'll go over the interface as we sculpt, but out over here under Options, we'll just change the background. Go to our animation examples and go to our source images. Sculpture references, and there we go. So once you do that, the nice thing is these images are nice and faded. And they look pretty good. A little distorted as far as the verticality. It seems like they're a little squashed vertically. So what I'm going to do is look at this one and kind of check it out. So this frame here is a little bit more wide than it was tall. So my initial thought, having a little more cropped was a good one, because it does stretch them out to fit. So go ahead and save that as the JPEG one more time. There we go. Going to change it to a different background. So it's just temporary so you can see what's going on here. It's going to load up a different background. That'll allow me to save this file. It was being utilized by something, so it wouldn't save out on top of itself. Alright, fine. I'll just save it as a different name. Side number 2. Thinks it's being used by another program, which it's not. Let's go ahead and go to the background, open up the new one. There we go. I think that's much better as far as its proportionality. A little less distorted. So go ahead and go OK. So now if we want to look at the front view, we can hold the Alt key down and slide over with our left mouse button, or if you have a pen and tablet. Again, I really recommend for the sculpting class, get a Wacom tablet. They're about $100, and there's several on the market that are kind of cheaper knockoff versions of the Wacom tablet. but I recommend a Wacom myself. So I'm going to go over here and just going to put this off to one side. So if you notice, you just click and drag over here on the empty space here. You can just kind of turn the ball of clay left and right. You can also rotate it up and down. But this line here is a center line. And be careful you don't turn it too far one direction, because you can actually have it spin so that it's not centered out. So let's just start drawing on the surface. And when you draw on the surface, just you can kind of just sculpt like this. Symmetry is turned on, which is cool. You know, it might be kind of fun just to take a ball of clay and just kind of play around with it, just goof around, and just see what all these different tools do. Take the flatten tool and flatten the shape. Take a move tool and move it around. What I'm going to do is we're going to use the move tool first. So just take a moment, play around with the clay after you download Sculptris, and just see what it can do. Just see what the possibilities are. I'm going to use the grab tool. I'm going to bring these sides, which is right here. You can also hold the space bar down and grab that tool. I'm going to grab the chin right here. I'll kind of look at it from one side here. Hold the space bar, you can kind of scroll up and down, or use the scroll wheel on your mouse. But if I just grab this corner, this chin right there, if you notice that you have this big cranial bulge area here and this jawline right there. So let me just actually draw that on the screen so you sort of see what I'm doing here. There you go. So here's your the cranium, which is this part here. Goes right there. And the mandible, the jaw, comes from about the center of the head, straight down and at a slight angle, and then forward at a slight angle. And that connects back to the head like that. So this jaw form is like that. It's a bit of a cylinder too. So you sort of think about that as sort of a cylinder shape, like that, with a sliced off bottom. We'll talk about the brow region and how that connects back to the head using this sort of Superman shape, form like that. Think of it like Superman, the S shape right there. That shape right there, like a diamond shape almost, like that. And that bone here connects to back into the skull. The temporalis muscle up here, the zygomaticus process right there, connecting to the orbicularis. We'll get to that stuff soon enough, but just momentarily. Let's get back to this. Let's hide that guy. We don't need to see him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this chin down like that, like taffy. See how that right down the middle center line just sort of pulls out that whole center. I'm going to bring the size up a little bit. Now from the front view, we'll just kind of, again, hold the Alt key and slide over, or the Option key on a Mac. And now we're going to take the side view and going to push in the sides of the head like that. Just again with the side, looking from the side view, then to orbit around, take a look at what you got. I'm going to make the size of this guy a little bit smaller of the move tool. I'm just going to pull out the chin a little more squarely. If you hold the Shift key down, it'll smooth out that seam a little bit. And kind of push that back in again. And always orbit around. Just like when I photographed this reference, I orbited around multiple different angles. So orbit around, take a look at it. We'll pause here and we'll go on to the next video, and we'll go into adding the neck and the shoulders and keeping the detail very low and very abstract for this first part of this exercise.